We're now entering the winter season in North America, where we'll see over 29 million tons of road salt distributed all across our roads. With an annual deficit of over 10 million tons being shipped from overseas, all eyes are on Atlas Salt's world-class Great Atlantic deposit as a solution to domestically supply the essential road salt that we need. We're joined once again with Atlas Salt President Rowland Howe to discuss the latest news to investors and all things salt. Rowland, welcome.
Hey. Hi, Brandon. Thanks. Great to be here.
And great to have you. Well, I'd like to start off first by talking about the main point of your news release, stating that the Great Atlantic Project economics are due shortly. You now have an official date from SLR Consulting that will provide the results for the preliminary economic assessment by mid-January 2023. I'm sure many investors are wanting to ask this question right now. What can investors expect from this PEA?
Well, yeah, you're right, Brian. I mean, SLR have been working diligently with great rigor towards the feasibility study, but the first step is this preliminary economic assessment. And it truly represents the first independent economic analysis of this Great Atlantic Salt project. And it'll provide the market with valuable information. It's an exciting step and one that's been eagerly anticipated by many investors. And as we look forward to 2023, it's going to be the start of a really robust news flow. And it's going to further demonstrate the true value of what we know to be a highly advantaged asset, the premier undeveloped salt project in North America. It's got the deep water access, shallow deposit, one that we probably access with incline tunnels, homogeneous, predictable geology, a great opportunity to mine. And this, again, builds on top of exciting times and interest in the salt industry. We've seen in the last few years, Stone Canyon, they've invested $5.2 billion in the salt industry. And now we've got Koch Minerals, who have actually invested in Compass Minerals, one of the other big salt producers. So lots of exciting news to come.
Yeah, I think the most exciting part of this, you've said it a couple of times here, but we really want to emphasize this for investors. This is specifically going to give us a lot of the building blocks for finding the valuation of the project. We already know this is the premier asset, an undeveloped deposit in all of North America. We've spoke about this a lot of times, but a lot of people are trying to figure out what is the value? How do you put a valuation to it? Am I correct by saying that this is going to give those building blocks to them? This is the answers to all those questions?
It's going to start zeroing in on that. And certainly, as we look at both, the economic side of things, marketing, logistics, but also, the design of the mine and how best to mine it. All those things come together. And the first glimpse of this is the preliminary economic assessment.
Fascinating to hear and appreciate that elaboration there. Well, in order to get the required information for that PEA and the subsequent feasibility study, the results from drilling need to be in. What has led to the drill program extending longer than originally planned?
Well, drilling has gone very well in the sense that we're seeing what we're hoping to see, including some of the best salt cores I think I've seen across my 30-year career. And we've successfully stepped out in all directions, hitting a thick salt bed. Although salt mining a straightforward process, drilling salt holes is a little more complicated than traditional metal deposit. And we've taken steps to improve the speed of execution. We've beefed up the rig and the crew. So we're anticipating that we're on the last hole now and excited to move the feasibility study forward and see the magic that Great Atlantic Salt can be.
Yeah, truly. And obviously with SLR Consulting, they're obviously giving you a firm date now for that PEA. So clearly they also have a better understanding of where they are with their drilling as well. Well, staying on the element of drilling, you've had successful large step outs, like you just said, from hole CC4 that showed immense thickness at very shallow depths, especially compared to the rest of the salt deposits in North America. Can you dive further into what these step outs and their findings mean for your Great Atlantic deposit?
Well, the deposit is enormous as Great Atlantic. It is geographically very large as well as thick. And we're able to do these step outs up to 500 meters. And the consistency of that deposit means we can extrapolate between holes with great confidence. It isn't a good idea with a salt deposit that you want to mine to cluster a number of holes together in one small area. In salt, it'll complicate your mine design as you have to avoid these holes in the bed when you're in underground workings. That this will it allows us to see what's there, but not pepper it with holes.
Yeah, and what I find very interesting when in terms of large step outs, a lot of people who may not know this in the mining space, who are maybe new to investing in the mining space, when a lot of companies do step outs, people do 10 meters, 15 meters, 20 meters, because the larger you go, you start to get worried. Oh no, am I going to get out of my deposit now? Am I going to get all rock? That's not the case here. So it's got nothing to do with the size here. We know the size is amazing. I believe now, if you can describe just a little bit, that these holes are really about that feasibility study and about planning what a potential mine here would look like. Am I correct by saying that?
Absolutely. I mean, what we need to understand is, not just the salt's there, but the mechanical properties of the salt, the mechanical properties or geotechnical information of the overburden, the beds that we're going to have to access the deposit through. The shallowness of the deposit leads us to looking for declines, which would be the first salt mine in North America with declines. So all this drill information is feeding into that design process.
Yeah, and for anybody who wants more information on the ramp, access into a mine and all of the different advantages of that, just this bar right above us, you can click on there. It goes to all of our past videos with Rowland, myself, and Patrick. There's a lot of information there that I think investors would find very useful. Well, an area that has been top of mind for investors this year has surrounded the potential buyout of Atlas Salt. Are you surprised there hasn't been an official buyout offer yet? And has your team begun leaning more towards potentially developing the mine yourself?
Nothing has changed. Brandon, this Great Atlantic is a very advantaged, unique asset. And our team's been fielding a lot of inquiries. I think everybody's been waiting for a project update, which we've delivered today. And of course, initial economic numbers are due out next month. At the end of the day, we'll act in a way that maximizes value for shareholders. Great Atlantic could really shape the future of the North American road salt sector. So it's a very valuable asset.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure many are looking forward to those numbers in the PEA and, of course, the feasibility study thereafter as well. Well, we're now in the thick of the winter salt season beginning across North America. As we enter this period, what are the current supply and demand dynamics of salt? And have the prices of salt continued to rise heading into 2023 like they have all year this year? What does this all mean for the industry as a whole?
Certainly, we've seen an increase during the tender season of salt prices, somewhere in the order of 15%, and that's really reclaiming the inflationary costs. There are 7 mines in the Great Lakes region. There's 2 in the Maritimes, 2 in Louisiana down south. They're older mines, but even producing well, this is still generating a shortfall of up to 10 million tons, especially on the U.S. East Coast, that currently is being fulfilled by overseas imports. We're hearing stories about one of the key supply chains is the Mississippi. And this is it's acute this year, but the river is actually very low. There's been a lot of, drought in the Midwest. And that river carries a lot of grain south to New Orleans, but it brings rock salt back on the returning barges. And these low levels have resulted in dramatically lower cargo weights. 800 tons rather than 5,000 tons is all the draft will allow. That's low water. Issues occur when there's too much flow too. And what this does is demonstrate the weakness of current supply chains. And in the markets that would be served by the river this year from Louisiana, they may have to be shipped from the Great Lakes. And that's a little more complicated, but draws tonnage from that market too. So again, this is where Great Atlantic can really move in and take advantage of shortfalls created by even these supply chain challenges. In terms of costs, so fixed costs are a bigger proportion of the cost structure in aging mines. And while costs can always be managed, these infrastructure costs can't be deferred for long. They're vital to the long-term viability of the mine. A new mine like ours could focus on efficiencies that truly drive the variable cost structure.
Yeah, and just to summarize all of that and why people are so excited about Atlas Salt, we've got a supply deficit in North America. We're having continuing rising prices in salt and inflation as well. So we're having all of the different costs associated to mining this salt, especially in these older mines with shaft access that go down, hundreds and hundreds of meters, thousands, I should say, actually. And then supply issues, actually having certain things like droughts being able to stop the supply. So there's so many different things things are lining up for the Great Atlantic deposit of Atlas salt on the east coast of North Newfoundland. So that's why a lot of investors have been following this story. Well, it seems like Great Atlantic has made quite an impression on the industry, as I was just saying there. And we've also seen some new participants, though, staking claims and entering around the Bay St. George Salt District in hopes of finding another world-class salt deposit like Great Atlantic, or maybe salt domes like Fischell's Brook. What does that say about these two projects?
Well, we're obviously the undisputed leaders here. And we have a great advantage of being right beside the deepwater port. This region has increasingly been recognized as an incredible salt district. It spans a great distance. And we're also in the middle of what we anticipate is going to be a clean energy hub. We're the largest shareholders in Triple Point Resources. The opportunities are enormous here. And the fact that others want to be in this district is really a testament to the value of it. But it should be noted that, Atlas has inherited over 20 years of geological and geotechnical data collected in that area. I truly doubt if anybody knows this area better than we do, and we're confident that we have the premier assets in the area.
Yeah, fantastic to hear that. Well, I'd like to ask about one last element of your recent news release, and that's me asking you, can you elaborate on the baseline environmental studies completed by the Great Atlantic Salt Area, or of the Great Atlantic Salt Area, and how this report will assist with the eventual permitting process for mine development?
Absolutely. I mean, we've been very proactive here. The environmental assessment needs a 12-month baseline that you just have to have that to compare any changes that might occur. And as we said in the news release, the baseline environmental study has been completed through Gemtech Consulting Engineering and Scientists. The final report's forthcoming, but these surveys do provide the current environmental data, and that will assist in our permitting process for mine development.
Yeah, fantastic. And obviously another check mark there as you continue to go down, getting closer and closer to first breaking ground, which many investors will be curious about knowing when that is as well. So much to come in the likes of Atlas Salt. And lastly, like I always do, in talking about what's to come, I'd like to always ask, what should investors be excited about leading into the end of 2022, but more importantly, the beginning of early 2023?
2022 is going to end with a bit of a bang. 23 is going to be a constant news flow of great information that we're preparing and ready to bring to the market. So I think people have been waiting patiently, but now they're going to be rewarded for that patience.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Rowland, for your time going through all these various different questions of ours as well, and everything that you're doing with Atlas Salt. It's great to see you, great to speak with you, and look forward to being able to do so again in the near future as well.
Thanks, Brandon.